The views and opinions of any of the guests of After Hours AM are not necessarily the views and opinions of After Hours AM, its hosts, its staff, or any of its affiliates.
Welcome to the After Hours program.
Are you ready?
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Now broadcasting live from the After Hours AM studio, Joel Sturgis and Eric Olson.
Can't shake this terror from my head tonight. Alone and forsaken I bleed. A twisted vision, a tired mind, betrayed, a victim of shame.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome to After Hours AM, the only show that makes you laugh, makes you cry, and scares the hell out of you. All at the same time, I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, and with me,
Eric Olson.
yes, Eric, it is definitely October because guess what? I saw a snowflake fall today, and it hurt.
Oh,
The dream is over, my friend. The dream is over.
yeah. Well, we've had a
feel it out
really,
here.
really warm October here in Northeast Ohio. I'm telling you. Changed today, actually very recently, just in the last couple hours started raining, but still, I think we might have hit 70 today, so can't complain.
You jerk. No, I'm kidding. I'm happy for you. But hey, tonight, I know, but tonight we are featuring, the bumper music is featured, Elliptical is our bumper music tonight.
Fantastic. I love those guys.
They're great. Who is that guy anyway?
They rule.
But who is it?
Well, it's Eric Olson.
That's
some
right.
guy.
Some dude I knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him.
And,
Vaguely.
and a significant partner who shall remain nameless.
Oh, we can.
So yeah, it's all electronic. Is so don't get too worked up about it. There is not one live organic instrument anywhere to be found. It is all sample based. But man, we had all kinds of fun laying down the tracks. You know, you chop it up and you rearrange it and you lay them down. And we were using unlimited tracks. So I mean, there's at some point I think there's 64 tracks to create these.
Wow, listen to you, Mr. Science Guy with music.
percussion parts.
Well, anyhow, man, you know,
Yeah.
I'm doing great other than being cold. I know you're doing all right. You got a lot of hustle and bustle on your end. Would like to give your daughter a
Yes,
great
my-
big
My sweet Lily.
15.
16
What?
years old.
16 already. Where does the time ever
Tomorrow.
go, Eric? Where does the
Tomorrow.
time ever go? Well, happy birthday on behalf of all of us over at After Hours AM.
Aw.
May all of your dreams come true. Remember, blow really hard. You don't want any of those candles lit because you know what that means.
Obviously, the party, she's having a party tonight. They just went to a haunted house down in Akron. And maybe we can get a report from them, perhaps, maybe, when they get back here. It'll be noisy. We'll know when they
Oh,
arrive.
we will. It'll be like elephants trampling in.
There will be no question.
But in the meantime, we got a
Back.
couple. In the meantime, we got a couple great guests. Hang on the line with Mike Gams, Kirsten Klang from Iron Range Paranormal Research. They're not just another pretty face out there. They're out there doing boots on the ground research. Welcome to After Hours AM, guys.
Hey, speak
Yeah,
for
thank
yourself,
you.
Joel.
Nice to
All
be on the
pretty
show.
faces, hey?
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, you know, guys, I met you guys. You guys are in my neck of the woods. For once, I have a guest that's from where I am, which is a weird chain of events. But why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourselves?
We started this organization roughly about 4 years ago. We never really liked to go in cemeteries very much, but we figured out, hey, it's pretty boring hanging at the house and stuff. So about 4 years ago, when my dad died, I got into paranormal research. I just came out into the cemetery with a group of friends, and we started taking pictures, and we started visiting other cemeteries around the range. And Lakeside Cemetery is one of our most common places there, and we do community service and pick up trash and fix headstones if they're needing it, and we just kind of do community service out here. And city council normally doesn't bother with us being out here and stuff, and we just kind of go out here, have fun, and test out new pieces of equipment that's up to date that we can afford, because it does get expensive. And
yes, it does,
we've been just
doesn't
out
it?
here for 4 years and loving what we do here. And we had one investigation for a haunted house in Biwabik, and that was the only haunted house location that we went to. There's a few others that we may have lined up. But,
Well, that's cool. That's
we do what
cool.
we can.
You know, I got you
We try
guys.
and help people out.
Yeah, exactly. And I brought you guys on radio because you guys actually have a real love for what you guys are doing, and that's kind of falling by the wayside, some would say. And you guys are fairly new into this field of research, which is cool. But what I really like about you guys is you guys are adamant about getting permission to get into locations, which has been a bit of a problem in the community as of late.
Yeah, we try and do that because we don't do anything unless we have permission, because we just don't want to be hassled by police or, being bothered with that. We just want to stay on the good side of the city and everything, keep the caretakers happy and the cemetery boards. And it's been 4 years of fighting with cemetery boards and city councils to get into what we have and what little permission we do have, but we take full advantage of it.
Very, very cool. Now, Eric here, he is the author of America's Most Haunted, the book, and he can tell you firsthand how hard some of these places can be hard nuts to crack, can't they, Eric, to get into?
Oh, yeah. In fact, really, ultimately, the reason we ended up, we decided to, as far as what we were covering in the book, we decided to cover the 10 most haunted public or semi-public locations in the country for that very reason. Just for example, probably the single most haunted, certainly considered most haunted place in the Cleveland area, all this area where I am, Northeast Ohio, is called Franklin Castle, but it's a private home, and you just can't get in there. So, what's the point? What's the point of covering a location, writing about it, if people can't get in there? So, yeah, it's really, really critical. And gosh, we hear these news stories periodically of these really not super bright paranormal investigators,
Right.
quote unquote, who call themselves that, who break into places, they vandalize, they burn them to the ground, for example.
Yeah.
And it's just nonsense.
It's ridiculous.
Lakeview Cemetery was really bad when we started investigating that place. Our first 2 years, we put thousands of hours our first year in there with our team, and we've seen kids going back there tearing big ruts out of graves. They were using crosses at Potter's Field as frisbees, and we went back and put everything back, and I made a report to Sheriff Kick and let them know about it. And yeah, we see a lot of vandalism, but since we started investigating Lakeside Cemetery, crime rate down here has decreased by about 34%.
Well, that's good, and that's
Started.
kind of what you're after as well, is to have the presence out there, which is really the byproduct of the investigation, but it's also a really good thing because it lets people know, hey, we are out here, kind of thing. Now, Kirsten, I kind of want to turn to you. How did you get into this? Where do you fit in all this grand scheme of things?
Well, I met Mike on a rival page for another team, actually. He had been posting his ghost photos on their page, and I said, wow, what a great photo. It happened to be of a Native American spirit that he nicknamed Zach. We tend to give them nicknames when we see them more than a couple of times. So I saw that, and I mentioned how awesome that was, that I hadn't seen anything quite that good, and wanted to know how he did it. And he offered to bring me out here, and I've been here ever since, and now I'm his protege.
Wow, that's a big word, protege. Wow,
Yes,
hey, you guys do
protege.
just fine, I'm sure of it, but what kind of evidence have you guys uncovered? I realize that you guys are fairly, I don't want to use young, but I use that in quotations, but you haven't been to a lot of private residents, but what kind of evidence have you guys kind of been able to figure out that maybe no one else has figured out hanging around these cemeteries?
Well, one thing that we have noticed there is that we believe, and I say we believe that in our group there, just so that we don't have a positive answer really. But for instance, we believe that every cemetery has a portal, and it opens and closes, and it will open and close within like 15 seconds, and then you'll see a bunch of orbs, ecto, come out of it, and then it closes up. But say, for instance, that there's no funerals that happen out into a cemetery that day, and we'll scan the whole entire cemetery, take over 800, 1,500 photographs. You won't yield anything.
In one
But
night?
if there's a funeral.
Mike, in one night?
Yeah, we'll take a lot of
1,500 photographs in one evening? Whoa.
Oh, yeah, we'll easily do that.
1,500. Oh.
That's smoking.
1,500. Well, between the two of us.
Between two phones.
Not just him.
Between two phones, it's about, I roughly pull out an average of about 400, 500. If I'm by myself out here, I'll go back home with 650 photographs. I'll make about 4 laps around the cemetery. But we have kind of primitive cameras. But what we'll do is that these portals, if there's a funeral that happens out here, and we come out here, we don't come out here during funerals or anything like that because there's a respect issue, and if anybody comes up, we got to put our camera equipment away and disappear. But what we have noticed that when there's a funeral, we have these portals that open up, and they pop up in random places around the cemetery. And I've caught it about 3-4 times altogether, but it's very hard to capture. One time it'll be in a corner of the cemetery, another time it'll be right in the middle. Because we believe that when priests come out here to give the last rites and to help guide the spirit into the next life, once they close that book, I don't believe that they close that portal. That portal remains active for, 12, 24 hours after the funeral takes place, and then it just goes away.
So
that's one of the.
Do you think that the priest or whoever's presiding over the funeral unwittingly has like some type of incantation he recites to open this portal, or how do you think that works?
Well, we feel that what it is that when the priests open that portal, because when that portal's around there, we believe that spirits can go in and out of it between their world and then come back into our reality or in the area they were buried at, and the priest will open it, but then they don't close it. It just closes on its own, or whenever the spirits are done using it, what we believe it. We're still researching it, and we got to wait for times when the funeral happens, but then we don't come out here for at least an hour or so after the funeral takes place, because we don't need an angry family relative flinging fists at us and stuff like that. So it's very...
No, it kind of ruins the atmosphere of the
fine
funeral. You know, physical violence is never right at funerals. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
No.
Eric, have you ever heard anything like that before?
No, I think that's a very interesting theory. I'm actually listening with a very intent interest. I'm trying to visualize, that reality. That's kind of how I sort through things when I hear a new theory. It certainly has some logic to it. It makes a lot of sense. And my goodness, who am I to say, with you guys spending that kind of time in cemeteries? I mean, in this particular cemetery, it seems to me you know it best of all. And if that, what actual evidence or what concrete led you to that theory? What happened that gave you that impression? I think it's a very interesting theory.
Well, basically what we plan, just be going off of pictures and our own body's feelings about it. Like I sat on the staircase right where the portal first appeared, and you can feel the thing open up, and it just makes the hair stand up. And then you take a picture, and it's open, and we have a 5-second delay between each picture that we take. So every 5 seconds, I snap a picture in that same area, then it opens to max capacity. And there's just a ton of orbs that come rushing through, and there's ectoplasm all around. It kind of looks like like when people, like I interviewed my uncle, he had a near-death experience, and it's almost like the tunnel of light in a way, because he's seen a bunch of twinkling star lights around this tube, and he went through it. Well, it looks the same way as out in the cemetery here, and I get roughly about 3 pictures, and then it just dissipates until there's almost nothing left, and then it won't open up again for the remaining time that we're out here.
Till the
unless
next funeral.
we go to a different area. But we've used different equipment. Like I like using a laser out here. This is a simple standard pen laser, and I can scan the cemetery, and we can see these portals from afar if it's really thick and it's really windy, because they don't seem to be affected by wind.
Interesting.
At all. They move and they move towards where the wind's blowing.
Have you ever?
One thing, you guys, though, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
One of the things that we had Mike has noticed that around days where there's a lot of people in the cemetery, it gets very, very active after those days. Like Memorial Day, day after Memorial Day is just unreal. If you can come in here and not get bothered, there's just tons of activity.
Do you think it's the energy, though? Yeah, I just want to interrupt you. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but do you think it's the energy people are bringing in that's causing that? I mean, have you ever tried an EMF meter on it or heat sensor? I mean,
the EMF meter, it skyrockets. It goes all the way up to a 3 or 4 right away as soon as it starts opening up. And once it's fully opened up, it maxes it out. And as it closes on there, the EMF meter goes all the way down until there's no EMF field in there.
Well, interesting theory. I've never seen something like that, to be honest with you. And I might have spent time in a cemetery or two. And I have never even witnessed anything near like that. It's very, very interesting. I would imagine it's quite something to behold.
Well, that's where that picture on Mike's Facebook page comes from, you guys. That was me taking a picture of Mike right in front of that portal, and the spirit running by was right there. It was coming out of the portal, so it was pretty unique.
Well, so
he was pretty happy about it.
you guys mentioned orbs.
Well, one thing about a portal that we have discovered too is every portal that we believe has a guardian. And we've noticed this Lakeview Cemetery.
Like a bouncer.
I got attacked by the guardian over by the shed. We caught an EMF meter when this portal opened up, and it said, "Gams get out, dies Martes," which is Latin for Tuesday. And we were out there on Tuesday, so they start speaking Latin at you like a demon or anything.
Wow.
But every time a portal opens, you can feel the presence of a guardian, and they just protect that portal to make sure that nothing that's not supposed to be there passes and stuff, and then they just kind of dissipate with that portal, but they just stand guard when it opens up and everything. And if you start tampering around with it too much, like I got a permanent scar on my right forearm from the guardian at Lakeview. I was just standing in the shed, and my arm just started burning, and it burned for 45 minutes, and I looked at my arm, and there was a single scratch on there right when I got that EMF or the EVP message on there, and it's still there on my arm to this day.
So would you say it's kind of like the bouncer of the porthole?
Kind of in a way, yeah. But when you start tampering around with these portals and that and start messing around there, I mean, it's pretty common if you start hearing Latin being spoke at you. Like, we don't know what they're saying until we go home and actually decipher what he's saying in Latin and that. Normally it's pretty threatening. If you're by that portal and it opens it up, they just don't want you near it.
Okay, now this is what I think. Another. I think you should try to walk into it. No, seriously, see what happens. See what kind of energy you feel.
I was sitting right by it there when it opened up before, and I don't think my hair got so straight up on edge before in my life, and I've had shadow people and everything walk by me, and
so
it was
guys,
like that.
You guys have invited me to come to the cemetery, and I will. I'll take you definitely up on your offer. I think it'd be a great time. Give it a whirl. But if the porthole does open, I'm running over. I'm just letting you know, I want to see someone walk into that thing, but it won't be me. I mean, I'll stand and watch, but it won't be me. Just throwing that out there right away.
I'll give you a shove.
No, you know, hey, why not?
To the light.
Yeah, he'll help me. He'll help me bring me to the light. Go to the light. But no, I'd be interested to see this happen in real time. I would definitely take you up on your offer. Check it out. You know, but
that'd be awesome to have you out here.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, count me in. But you guys mentioned orbs. Now, orbs are a hotbed of controversy. I mean, my God.
Oh, very much.
Now, what do you guys consider to be a real quote-unquote spirit orb?
Oh, what we really do, like what we noticed here is that like a spirit orb, like we've noticed the same orbs that are in this cemetery. Now, the weird thing is that we know it's like Well, I shouldn't say I know, but we believe that it's the conscious thought of a deceased one, because we have seen these orbs do some very abnormal things, and we get EVP messages from time to time, or even over the spirit box when they come around. But we noticed there's about, 3 orbs around here that have a particular scar on them. Like one of them actually has a cut on the front. Yes. And then one of them has a hole, like a blackened, it looks like a scar in this sphere. And then one other one looks like it was forehead was cut there, just the middle of it. And we see the same anomaly. And there's this particular ones there that, sometimes you can see different, I don't know how you say it. I mean, we don't really investigate them too much, but when they're around, when we capture them on the camera and we have the EMF meter out, I mean, it starts skyrocketing. It'll jump up to a 2 sometimes if we get 10 or 15.
And I sense them too. You can feel them, but
Okay.
you can really just.
But I mean, physically,
when they're right up on you. You can feel them.
I guess the question is, physically, what does an orb have to display to you before you say, hey, that's a spirit orb and not a piece of dust or not a drop of water or
there's
not
typically
humidity?
a contrail, and a light source. But also, we typically really decide that one is a being when we've seen it more than once in a different shot, a different day. You'll see them; they're distinct. They have the same markings.
It
kind of like a pony.
Yeah, it's very interesting that you say that they have physical markings on. I've never heard anyone with that theory before with the orb having a physical marking on it. That'd be kind of a first for this end.
That. Yep.
Very interesting.
Different days, different shots, different people, different cameras. There's no way that it can happen unless it's something.
That I've never, that's kind of cool because, I mean, I hear about orbs like Eric does and like I do, and we hear about how orbs are here and what, the piece of the puzzle is still out. The jury's still out exactly what orbs are. Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, obviously. Yep. But the jury's still out, but I think there's more to orbs than meets the eye because, like you said, sometimes they display some very interesting characteristics that, quite honestly, nothing else does. Like just the feelings you get from them sometimes, the look as well. Yep. Just it looks at that there's actually thought behind their flight path that is not a bug. It's almost as if there's a reason it's going there. And so that's a very, very interesting. I can't wait to see the porthole and the orbs. It'll be a good time.
Hey, what is your
I'll
Facebook?
send you those pictures.
we want to
Well, yeah, we've seen orbs there from moving at very high rates of speed that they come out of the ground. Like over in Lakeview, this is very common. I'm sure you may have caught something like that, but you see a long tail off of these orbs. They come shooting right out of the ground at really high speeds and disappear. And we were out there all night and everything. And they're moving around like Lakeview. I mean, every picture you're going to have 50 of them in there. Out in this cemetery, you're going to have maybe 10, 15.
Sure.
Some are red, some are just give off their own color and stuff.
Oh, we've gotten orb masses too.
Wow.
Where there's hundreds of them.
It's an orgy of orbs. An orgy of orbs right in front of you. But no, Eric had a question for you guys.
Feel it.
Eric, you had a question quick?
Yes, I had a question. What is your Facebook page? Because we want to send people to see all this cool evidence, and I really like your theories. I think they're interesting, and you guys are obviously really down with this and serious about it and spending a lot of time. Time seems to be a real important factor. I myself, I freely admit I'm something of a dilettante in the field because I just don't put in the time. You guys are out there beating those bushes all the damn time. So anyway, how do people get to your Facebook page? And do you have a website, etc.?
We don't have a website up yet because the funding in general, we're just trying to get rid of equipment. But we have a Facebook page. It's under IRPR, Iron Range Paranormal Research Team on Facebook. We also have Mystical Minnesota is another one that is on our page, and we put our work on. And then I have my Facebook page under Mike Gams that I have all of our investigating pictures all on archive and stuff, so we don't have to worry about losing them. So you can go to those 3 pages there alone there, get in contact or send requests or take a look at our research and our theories.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting stuff. I've never heard of the porthole. I know Eric hasn't either. That's a new one on me.
Yeah, the only one I can really think of that I've run into that is really, really, seen as such is there's supposed to be a porthole on the Queen Mary. It's in the supposed to be in the bathroom.
That's what I heard. Right in the right in the John.
Porthole, huh?
Exactly.
Cool place to enter the world.
We had some very, very interesting experiences there. Really, I mean, it was kind of like a shift. I mean, it really was. It was what you might think of as a portal or a vortex, something along those lines. And of course, at Bobby Mackey's down near Cincinnati, Wilder, Kentucky, many feel that the basement, the notorious basement.
Yes, I've been there. I've gone that basement.
Portal to hell.
You guys got a lot of guts for going there.
Anyway, that is some sort of portal or vortex as well. Interesting. I particularly am interested in the aspect of your theory that it's a temporary thing, but it's a temporary recurring thing, and that it's opened up by the ceremony, literally the funeral, the burying ceremony, and that somehow opens this up. And then it stays open for a certain period of time. Boy, to me, that sounds like a movie waiting to be made.
Doesn't it? After Hours presents
Hells to the Yes.
That's right. Hells to the Yes, the porthole you never want to go into. Yes.
And one thing with our team, we do with our team, see, we are a little bit different than other paranormal groups. We're really laid back. But see, we keep going to the same area over and over and over again while we're waiting for investigations in homes. And we build a relationship with the spirits out here. Like pretty soon after about, say, a couple of months coming out here 3 times a week and that, you start having the spirits over the spirit box. They're calling you by your name and welcoming you. At first, they're always telling you, leave, get out of here. But then after a period of time there, they start thanking you. Like we have removed debris from a grave one time, and I had this one female spirit that every time I come out here and that, she's just walking with me. And we get little children spirits here that will tug on your shirt, and then you'll hear a little girl giggle. And it actually took 2 years coming out here before the other spirits would allow the children spirits to come near us and that, because they're really protective over the child spirits. And we get a couple of them. I've identified 6 of them out here. One of them is always seen sitting with a really huge teddy bear, and that he's always just sitting there, and the teddy bear is bigger than he is. And
wow,
you know which headstone it is, but we form a relationship with the spirits, so we get more welcoming notes. So when we come here, like I came out here for the first 3 years by myself most of the time at 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock, and I'd be out here half the night by myself.
Now that's bravery right
really,
there.
Really dangerous doing that, but after a period of time, when you start making friends, you don't have to worry as much about you being attacked or anything. We only have one particularly very troubled spirit here that I named the Sorrow, and he's always in a black hooded cape or something there, and he's always seen about 80 feet away from us. But if he comes anywhere within 60 or 80 feet from you, you feel it. You can feel his emotions and that, but he doesn't normally come near us anymore. But we take pictures, and I've caught him 3 times altogether.
Wow, that's Mike, we have about a minute left of the interview. Why don't you tell again everyone where they can see all this great evidence you guys have, how they can get a hold of you if they want their own in-home investigation from the Iron Range Paranormal Researchers?
Well, they can drop me a request, or either Kirsten Kane under her page, or they can go under IRPR, Iron Range Paranormal Research Team, under Facebook. And they can drop a message to us if they want a request done. And we don't charge for investigations. We just try and help the people out as best we can. And you can drop us a note on my page and Mike Gam's, because we got a lot of fans and people across the world. So if anybody wants to do have an investigation done in that, we're always game. Get us out of the cemetery for a while.
Perfect. Well, thanks, guys. Mike Gams, Kirsten Klang, coming to us from Iron Range Paranormal Research. Man, when we come
Thanks
back.
for having us, guys.
Oh, absolutely. When we come back, you're haunted.
Nice meeting you. Very interesting.
Absolutely.
Keep
It
up
was
the great
awesome.
work.
Heck yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
But when we come back, America's Most Haunted Headlines. Don't go anywhere.
Carol. School zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
From the director of Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Adam and Barbara are ghosts.
What's the good of being a ghost if you can't frighten people away?
Their house is being haunted by the living.
Maybe the house could use a little remodeling.
And they can't scare them into leaving.
They're dead. It's a little late to be neurotic.
So they're calling on Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice!
Who's no ordinary ghost.
You don't want his help.
Can you be scary?
What do you think of this?
Now, the party's over.
You want somebody out of the house? I want to get somebody out of your house.
But the fun has just begun.
It's showtime. Learn to throw your voice, pull your breath, fun party.
Not bad.
This is amazing.
Want a cigarette?
Oh, no, thank you.
Oh, yeah, here I come, baby.
He's guaranteed to put some life.
Attention, keyboard shoppers.
In your afterlife. Michael Keaton is Beetlejuice.
I'm the ghost with the most, babe.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at Motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Only in the forest can you see this. But nothing beats the moment you see that.
Cool!
That's your child's eyes opening up to a world of possibilities.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. And you might just see this. Visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Do you have a question for our guest tonight? Don't feel like calling the show? Not a problem. Email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Again, that's afterhoursam@gmail.com. Welcome back to After Hours AM. I'd like to thank again Kirsten Klang, Mike Gams, Iron Range Paranormal Research, coming on the first half hour. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, along with me,
Eric Olson.
And we're rocking out to a little elliptical right there. Yes, that's right. Pulled it right back out of the vault. You guys remember that from Storytellers, and Storytellers is not dead, by the way. I got a flood of emails. By the way, Eric.
A flood!
A flood! Where the heck is Storytellers? So that will be coming back to a radio near you before you know it.
It will. And the bigger the numbers we get on this show, the sooner we'll come back with Storytellers.
Exactly. But
so tell all your friends.
That's
Wake
right.
the neighbors.
Yeah, that's right. Tell Grandma. Call her up. Let her know. But who do we have tonight at the top of the hour?
We have B.J. Winslow. And I'm like a fanboy. I so love this store. It's out near, it's in the heart of the entertainment industry out there in Burbank, California. And it's the Dapper Cadaver. And they carry every manner of horror and death-related props. And it is amazing, amazing stuff. It is so well done. It is so serious. It is so high-end. I mean, it's not only high-end, but they have such high-end that it's been used. Their materials are used for forensics training. I got
Really?
a whole long list of cool stuff about him, and we'll get into that when we introduced BJ Winslow, who is the co-owner of Dapper Cadaver. We'll be talking to him at the top of the hour. It's going to be great. Yet another angle on Halloween. I thought it'd be fun. We had such a great response to our look at the business of Halloween. This is business, but this is kind of very specific. It's props.
It's creepy business.
It is very creepy and has become a huge industry. It's amazing. When you hear about their clients, you will be astonished.
Oh, man, I can't wait to talk to him. Again, BJ Winslow, top of the hour, Dapper Cadaver. You're not going to want to miss that. Well, anyhow,
not.
America's Most Haunted Headlines. Everyone go to Twitter. Go to AM Haunted. Check it out. Follow along with us at home.
Whip it open. Open it up on your phone or your computer or just a huge crack in the earth and get yourself to Twitter and then at AM Haunted so you can follow along. A lot of the same material, as we always say, is also on the AM Haunted, America's Most Haunted Facebook page, but it'll be easier to follow on Twitter. All right, we've talked about this before, but it's been a long time, and I just saw a new study on it, and people have been for a long time trying to come up with how many human beings since the dawn of modern man. Now, we're not going back farther than that. We're talking about modern man, Homo sapiens, such as ourselves. How many dead humans are there?
Oh, a lot. And this number is actually freaking me out.
There are approximately 100 billion.
100 billion dead people, man.
Dead people.
Think about that.
Right. So unlike, there's a cliche that you hear all the time. I haven't heard so much lately, but for a while I was hearing it all the time, that this really high percentage of all humans who have ever lived are alive now. Well, no, that is not true. Only 1 in 14 humans who have ever lived are alive now. Now, of course, that's still a high percentage, and it's going to keep going up. I think by 2050, it'll be down to 1 in 11 who have ever lived are alive at that point. But still, there's many, 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 many more who have come and gone.
But think about that, 100 billion dead people. But think about, can you imagine
all of the earth is a cemetery? Think about it.
Can you imagine if they all rose up? We'd so be screwed.
I mean, think about it. There's no question about it. There's an amazing book by Canetti, and I'm not looking at it right now, and I'm not even thinking of his first name. He was a Nobel Prize winner. That's how amazing the book is. And he looks at all the various symbols that mankind shares kind of around the world and throughout history. And many of those symbols, which had never even occurred to me before I read this book, many of those symbols relate to our fear of the dead. And so, for example, if you think about this, it makes sense. Back thousands of years when we were, less scientific, people would see cornfields and they would think of every one of those stalks of corn being a body rising up. Wow. And so they saw all these symbols all over the world, all these especially in groups, increasing groups. And they were very much afraid that this symbolized the return of the dead, who would, of course, be very angry and jealous because we're alive and they're not.
Wow. Man, I just can't get over the number. 100 billion people have come and gone.
I believe it's Elias Canetti, now that I think of it. Yeah, I know. It's a lot of people.
It just doesn't seem possible.
Well, fortunately, most of them have completely returned to dust, but surely not anywhere near all of them. And if you think about it, we've talked about this before, kind of jokingly, but it really is factual. Essentially, the entire Earth is a cemetery.
Yes, essentially,
yes. There are of dead people everywhere.
Yes, that is actually, you're right. That's very, very true. Most places where your house is sitting right now, one time, some way, somehow, I would bet money someone was buried there.
Absolutely. All right, moving on from that bizarre,
That is bizarre.
morbid thought, but it's reality. So yeah, if you want to click through from that Twitter post, there's a really long, very detailed mathematical analysis of how they came up with that number. And of course, it's just an approximation, but I think it's a pretty close approximation. Check this out, skipping down a couple of tweets here. There's a fan, who has built an exact replica inside and out of the Michael Myers childhood home
I'm looking
from the
at
beginning
that.
of Halloween.
Okay, that guy must have a lot of time on his hands. I'm just saying.
I mean, it's not just the outside; it's the inside too. And recall that house, the childhood house. It just wasn't on the screen very long.
No, not really. It was more. It didn't play a character. It was just a dwelling where it happened.
Exactly, and at the very beginning, and I don't know how many actual screen minutes it's on, but it can't be that many.
No, because
so, yeah, it's a great picture of the owner standing in front of his house in full Michael Myers regalia, and it's an amazing thing. The house is open, but of course you got to check in with the guy. For visits in October, especially, is when he is most amenable to such things. And the house is in Hillsborough, North Carolina, built by Kenny Caperton, perhaps the biggest Halloween fan of all time. He also has a huge memorabilia collection inside the house.
Very, very interesting.
Cool stuff.
That is cool. That's very cool.
I love this video. It's very, very cool. There's a video. This is in the next tweet. It comes from Mode Stories, the website Mode. And it's a 3-minute video that recapitulates the last 100 years of Halloween costumes.
That's kind of cool. I'm going to have to watch that video when we're not on air. That'd be very cool to watch.
And they do skip decades, so it's not like literally year by year by year. It's decade by decade. But nonetheless, it's very interesting, well done, very classy, kind of fashionable, super cool. So check it out. All right, now, I think I asked last week, and I don't think you had. Have you watched, or are you going to watch, American Horror Story
I
Hotel?
watched most of it, and boy, Lady Gaga is creepy.
Oh, my God, yes. Super, super creepy. I mean, she is that person. She is that persona. My daughter, we were talking about, turning 16 tomorrow, good old Lily Olsen. She is an enormous, as are many girls her age, Evan Peters fan, and she is just crushed that he is so evil in this version of American Horror Story. He is often, even if he is quote unquote a bad guy, like the first year, I mean, he was a mass murderer. That's a bad guy.
That is a bad guy.
But he was still very charismatic and a very sympathetic character in many ways. This guy is not. And they're portraying him, he's the builder of the hotel from back in the 30s, and they're portraying him as essentially America's first serial killer, and he was super bad. So it's another side of Evan Peters, who's really quite a great actor, I'd say.
Yes.
He's developing quite a career. All right, speaking of ghost hunting in odd places, Selena Gomez, the former Disney girl.
Yes, I know her well.
I'm sure you do, with your multiple children.
Yes, with my multiple children.
Who are all mostly young. I'm sure you know Selena.
Yes, and I've heard the name thrown around.
Oh, yeah. And she's a singer, and now she's grown up, and she went out with Justin Bieber and all kinds of other nonsensical things. Anyway, she was on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon the other night, maybe just last night, and she conducted a ghost hunt of the studio live with a phone app.
Well, now, did she ever say which app this was?
She may have. I don't recall myself. She is showing it. It is in the image on the tweet, Twitter tweet.
I'm looking at it. I'm trying to...
It's hard to tell.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out which app that would be.
If you click through, though, to the original story from E Online, there's an actual video, the video of her appearance on the show, and I'm sure you'll get a much better sense of which app it is.
I wouldn't have guessed her to be a ghost hunter, though.
She is. I've heard it before. I know she has. This is something she does kind of on a at least semi-regular basis, and she is a strong believer in ghosts, and she has had some paranormal experiences herself.
Very, very interesting. Who knew? She's
Who
so
knew?
cute and so bubbly.
That Wizard of Waverly Place
Well, yes.
is a real-life ghost hunter in her
I
spare
never
time.
would have thought. I never would have thunk it.
So we talk about really cool kind of cutting-edge archaeological finds from time to time because, that stuff is spooky as hell.
It is. It really
Dead
is.
bodies and weird stuff and people frozen in place and, you have the vampire burials and all this. The latest, and I mean, it's almost every day something amazing happens. But check this out. We were just talking about modern humans, and I believe the calculation that arrived at the 100 billion mark actually only goes back 50,000 years. So maybe they should be going back all the way to 100,000 years because they just did a study. They found a bunch of teeth in a cave in China, and they have now determined that those are from Homo sapiens who originated in Africa. So now the out of Africa movement began, they're saying, 100,000 years ago. So there were already modern humans in Asia, in China, 100,000 years ago.
Wow. So, I mean, I'm looking at these teeth, and they show quite a array of them. And no cavities, oddly enough.
Very interesting that you would bring that up. Yes, that's true. So think about it. No sugar, certainly no refined sugar. And they were eating a lot of roughage, right? This is certainly prior to agriculture. So they are hunter-gatherers. And obviously what they ate agreed with their teeth. Now, over time, of course, they get worn down. That's one of the problems with eating so much roughage and being a hunter-gatherer is you're eating a lot of really hard things and your teeth get chipped and worn down. But you're right, as far as cavities, no way. And they're looking more and more into this, trying to figure out that there have been many periods of time throughout human history when certainly at least the majority of the people have had essentially perfect teeth. So what the hell happened to us, man?
And I know you think about sugar and you get a cavity these days.
Yeah, I mean, it's our diet. It's, that's basically what it is. It's our diet.
Well,
and we eat all these processed foods. We eat all that refined sugar. And, if you take care of your teeth, this is a golden age for teeth, but you got to take care of them. And, you have to floss. Brushing is not enough. I just had this discussion. I can't believe how many adults don't floss.
Yeah, well, hey, that's the thing. I go to my dentist, and of course, like everybody else, floss more. Floss until it bleeds. That whole thing.
Well, if you floss twice a day, like some people named me do, it never bleeds. Because
You are a health nut, though. I mean, you are about the healthiest man I've met, by far.
I am generally healthy. I don't know if I go all the way to nut, I mean, I'm not someone who works out 2 hours every day.
My problem, though, is, and like most of our listeners, the little thing called the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup.
Ah, yes. But being allergic to chocolate has served me well.
Wow. I am far from allergic from chocolate. And so if you have any Reese's you'd like to dispose of, feel free.
They are eaten up by the rest of the household, I assure you.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I as I've gotten older, I've noticed I've become less allergic to chocolate. It's not chocolate flavor, it's the actual real thing, chocolate. Chocolate flavor seems to be okay. So we're at the point now in my life, I can have a little tiny bit as long as I'm eating other things. But I just don't have any particular desire to eat a bunch of chocolate. It makes me feel weird. And I guess because I've eaten so little of it in my life, I mean, I like it okay.
You
It doesn't
are
taste bad.
you are in the minority. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. You're in the minority. Most of our listeners, I'm wagering to say, love chocolate.
Well, that's just, hey, I have not an addictive. There's one step below that, but I'm a one step below addictive personality. I have to be careful.
Sure.
If I like something, I have a tendency to like it too much. So that's just one thing I can just write off and not worry about. Thank goodness.
Well, that's a good thing.
I'd probably be I'd be rather heavier than I am, I'm guessing.
Well, that then there's that. But kudos to you for saying no to the chocolate.
Well, it's not like I had a choice. It used to really make me sick. So,
well, then there's that.
I wouldn't pat me on the back, too much. It's I mean, it made me feel ill to my stomach. It was very much an unpleasant situation. All right, so we will move along. More science news. Wait, space is this. Talk about golden eras. This is the golden age of space exploration. Not in person yet. That was a very brief period, way back in the late 60s, early 70s. We'll get back there. But unmanned, oh my goodness. And the advances in telescopes, it's just
it's exploded.
So, we've recently learned, very recently, that Pluto has that fascinating heart-shaped feature. I mean, it literally looks like a heart on Pluto. Well, Jupiter has a belly button.
I'm looking at this. This is really cool looking.
Yeah, it's a GIF, so it moves. You can see how it
Yeah, cool, man. Look at that little belly button.
First time they've had high-resolution shots of that feature on Jupiter.
It has a cute little belly button there. Look at that little guy.
Now, you were talking about the weather a while back, and it had turned chilly and may even snow. What are your leaves like?
Oh, they're all down pretty much. It is a wasteland right now. Barren wasteland of fall. We don't have too much left.
I'll tell you what, it has been so warm here in Northeast Ohio in October, really September and October. We've had a couple of brief cold spells, or at least cool spells. I mean, it's gotten down to the 40s at night. But for the most part, it's been so warm that the leaves have just started changing in the last week.
Well, I would probably say
it's a month late.
You're probably maybe 800, maybe 1,000 miles south of me. So,
we're not. I mean, I'm south. I don't know if we're that far.
I'm up here in the Northwoods. You're down there in, Rock City. Well, I almost said Detroit Rock City. No, Cleveland Rocks down there. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Check it out. Love it.
We are certainly at least a few hundred miles south of you. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it's interesting though how weather works, and now they are predicting for most of us a warm winter up here. Down south, Florida wise, not so much. They're predicting kind of cold.
And the west as well. They're going to be wet and cool. Yeah, I just heard that today too. The north and upper Midwest. They're predicting a warmer than usual. I'm ready for that because
I am too.
We've had a couple cold ones in a row.
Man, you haven't lived till you've experienced 40 below zero.
And I'll tell you, I have not experienced 40 below.
You gotta give that a try one time. You'll love it. I'm telling you.
Well, I'd love it for how long? 5 seconds.
You'd love it for less than 5 seconds. You would love it until you didn't feel the feeling in your toes anymore.
I mean, it'd be almost instantaneous when it's that cold, right?
It's very, very cold. 40 below is nothing to mess with. So everybody that does live in a very cold region of the United States, like myself, make sure to bring your animals in. Take care of them, too, because they feel the cold just like you do.
You are such a PSA
Well,
guy.
I'm trying, man. I am trying to spread the love.
You are thoughtful and empathetic. I like that about you.
I try, man.
Let's go away from the real world. Let's go back to the media. Now, everyone loves monster movies.
I do.
Who doesn't love monster movies?
Love them.
All right. So, if you go to Shout Factory, which is the parent company of Scream Factory, and of course, they put out all those great, lovingly packaged Blu-rays for the first time of all these obscure horror movies. Not only obscure, but they specialize in obscure. So this weekend, they've added a streaming feature now on Shout Factory / Scream Factory. This weekend, this Saturday, in fact, all day long, they're having to celebrate Gamera's 50th birthday. They're having an 11-movie Gamera marathon, all free.
Wow, where can you catch this? On their website or
right on their website?
Very interesting.
Shout Factory TV Live.
That is super cool.
You can just get it from Shout Factory if you can't remember all this other stuff. Yeah, it is, and all month long on the subsidiary Scream Factory, which is the horror outlet, of course. They're doing free. They're streaming free horror movies all month long.
Very, very cool. I'm gonna have to check that out. In fact, I have a bit of a long weekend in front of me, so I am thinking that I'm gonna have to check that out this weekend.
You should
give them some love. Get away from the Netflix.
Boy, I'll tell you, as far as getting in all the movies and TV shows, all the good horror paranormal stuff, they all come back for October, of course. I think they're all pretty much back in gear. There's a couple that still aren't back yet. Grimm's not back on yet. Couple wait all the way up, like at the new Ash versus the Evil Dead, the TV version of the Evil Dead films. That's going to be on Stars. That doesn't start till Halloween. But anyway, this whole month, October, we are flush with all the paranormal, horror, etc. TV shows. Then we got all the movies that all the new movies. This is a banner season for new horror movies, or scary movies, shall we say. Halloween-themed movies. So we got to see all these new ones. And then we got all the classics. Where is their time?
I know, and you know what? The Walking Dead premiered this last Sunday.
Oh, yes.
And I know you watched it, as did I.
Oh, yeah.
What did you think of that? I thought it was more
ripper. It was a ripper. It was one of my favorite episodes ever.
You know what I was thinking of the whole time I'm watching it? I was thinking of zombie cowboys.
Yeah, they
herding them along the way. Come on, little doggy.
Get along, little zombies.
I'm surprised they didn't have country music in the background.
Shots.
Yes.
Oh, were those astonishing?
I know. Crazy episode. If you haven't seen it yet, we won't spoil it too bad, but then again, spoiler alert. Man, the herding of the zombies. I mean, it just seemed like a bad John Wayne movie.
They were saying they literally had, I don't know if this is actual extras or what they were presenting on camera, but they were saying 20,000 zombies.
I heard that. I heard that number, that they had that many extras and zombies and I mean, the biggest episode by far. I mean, most ambitious for sure.
I mean, it really was epic, and they pulled it off. It didn't look fake. It didn't look cheesy.
No, it looked real well.
Felt like a biblical epic movie.
It did, but the black and white from color, that threw a lot of people off because they didn't get the whole concept of back, present and past, and they didn't get that right away, and that was the biggest complaint I heard was, well, what the heck's up with the black and white?
Yeah, we were watching, and my wife said, "Why is it in black and white now?" And then we looked at each other and we said, time shift. So yeah, they were flipping back and forth between the past, the backstory of how we got to where we were right then at the beginning of the episode, which is in color. So you're going back and forth between color in quote-unquote real time to black and white, the past. Yeah, I thought it was a really, really great episode.
Very interesting. I
think bodes very well for this season.
Oh, I think so too. I think it's going to be a very good season. I know that's just been a buzz everywhere, of course, The Walking Dead, as it always is. And I think I've heard a rumor. Now, of course, rumors are, you know what they are, but they might kill Daryl off this season.
Oh, we've talked about
that. I know, that's the rumor out there.
If they kill Daryl, there will be rioting in the streets.
In the streets. It'd be mass hysteria, cats and dogs living together. It'd all be over. But we got to get out of here. We got to get to the Fox News. But everybody, go to America's Most Haunted, AM Haunted over there on Twitter. Check it out while we're on break. Listen to Fox News. Be right back with BJ Williams Winslow, sorry, Winslow. Dapper, Cadaver, tongue-tied there for a second. Be right back right after this.
Fox News Radio, I'm Kathleen Maloney. Keeping Afghanistan stable. President Obama explains his decision to leave nearly 10,000 troops there.
This modest but meaningful extension of our presence, while sticking to our current narrow missions, can make a real difference. It's the right thing to do.
The president's hopes dashed about pulling out of Afghanistan before he leaves office. Defense Secretary Ash Carter saying the additional troops will help hold back ISIS, the Taliban, Al-Qaeda.
These changes take into account the progress of Afghan forces and the partnership we have formed with President Ghani and Chief Executive Abdullah.
Our government's money problem more urgent than we thought. Fox News Radio's Jared Halpern live in Washington.
November 3rd is the new debt limit deadline, 2 days earlier than Treasury Secretary Jack Lew had first set for Congress.
Our system was set up to pay our bills because the full faith and credit of the United States should never be called into question.
Lew, speaking with Fox Business Network, explains without new borrowing authority, any number of bills could be missed, including Social Security payments or principal and interest on existing debt. The last time Congress raised a debt limit, it did so over objections of many conservative Republicans who want to tie any increase to spending cuts elsewhere. Kathleen.
Thanks, Jared. If you want a good spending plan, Ohio Governor John Kasich says elect him.
As president, I will immediately put us on a path to a balanced budget, and I will get it done within 8 years.
Kasich saying he can do it while still cutting taxes and spending more on the military. Another effort to calm things down in the Mideast. Muslim men not allowed now to enter a sacred hilltop compound in Jerusalem that has been the center of recent violence. You're listening to Fox News Radio. Fair and balanced. California may be getting more serious about guns. Fox News Radio's Jessica Rosenthal.
Kathleen, Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom, who is running for governor in 2018, is proposing the new restrictions on guns and ammunition. The measure would get on the ballot if it gets over 360,000 signatures. It would ban the possession of magazines with more than 10 rounds and require background checks on ammunition. Sam Paredes is the director of Gun Owners of California.
What you are saying is that we don't give a rat's rear end about putting the law-abiding citizen at a disadvantage over criminals who would use whatever to commit their crimes.
But Newsom says he is confident Californians will eventually approve these measures. Kathleen.
Thanks, Jessica. The last U.S. Airways flight takes off from Philadelphia tomorrow. When it returns the next day, it will be flying as an American Airlines plane. The merger that was announced back in 2013 will be complete. El Nino packing a winter punch.
This year's ever-present El Nino, or general warming of the Pacific, is even stronger than the one that popped up in the late 90s.
And arguably among the three strongest we've seen since 1950.
Says Mike Halpert at NOAA's Climate Prediction Center. El Nino means a wet winter for much of the U.S., even in the drought-stricken West, but not as frigid for Yankees and Yoopers.
Above average temperatures are favored across much of the West and the northern half of the contiguous United States.
But here in Florida, we'll be chilly by our standards, which means long sleeves. Maybe. In Miami, Eben Brown, Fox News Radio.
A football coach in Texas, Mac Breed, still denying that he ordered two players on his high school team to hit a referee, claims he only resigned to avoid being fired. Video of the September hit went viral, and Breed says he wants to clear his name. And the woman who sued her 12-year-old nephew after he jumped into her arms now says she's sorry about it. I'm Kathleen Maloney, Fox News Radio.
And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me,
Eric Olson.
There you go. Very hungry Eric Olson. No, I'm kidding. It's his daughter's, again, 16th birthday. Happy birthday. Couldn't, from the bottom of my heart.
About you, girl.
That's right.
15th birthday.
Well, okay, there we go. Yep, happy birthday. But, Eric, who do we have with us tonight?
Oh, my goodness. We have B.J. Winslow, co-owner of Dapper Cadaver. Dapper Cadaver is a death-related prop house and prop fabrication shop founded in 2006 by B.J. Winslow and his wife, Eileen. Located near the Burbank Airport, they've provided props to thousands of film and TV productions, including hit TV shows like Bones, Dexter, and Law and Order, and major motion pictures like Nightmare on Elm Street, Transformers 3, Pirates of the Caribbean 2 through 4, Water for Elephants, several Saw movies, No Country for Old Men, Hurt Locker, and a many more. And besides all that, stage and video props for, of course, Alice Cooper, Slipknot, Korn, Insane Clown Posse, ICP, oh no, Pasta Fago, Kesha, Britney Spears, Kanye West, Ozzy Osbourne, Marilyn Manson, and obviously props and decorations used by top haunted houses and Halloween parties. In 2010, they were honored to provide props for the White House Halloween party.
Wow. Now that's...
Beat that with a stick and walk away, my friends.
Wow.
And many more others. Welcome to the show, B.J. Winslow.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, how did a nice guy like you get wrapped up in body parts?
Well, I mean, this is a lifelong love. And, I mean, I was always a creepy kid. Doesn't mean I'm not a nice guy, but, yeah, I mean, I've always loved dead things, loved ghost stories, movies, and just, you know, anything that makes people scream.
Yeah, I'm looking at your works here on the website. Man, mind-blowing. Really, they look so realistic. That's the thing that gets me is the realism. I mean, it's so real that science and medical even turns to you guys. I mean, you got to be spot on to get those guys interested.
Oh, yeah. No, we do a lot of work. You know, we do a lot of work for film and television. We do Halloween parties, Halloween events, haunted houses, and, yeah, we do a lot of stuff that's like training simulations. You know, I mean, some of the guys that you might see up on our website were originally done. We've done some stuff for forensic schools, where I did one recently for a mortician's school, or no, excuse me, a coroner's school, where you know, it was for maggot training. It was, you know, they come into a house where the body's been sitting for a few days, and it's covered with maggots, and you know, everybody's got to prepare for that. That's not something you just want to throw somebody into completely green. So we made a body based on the photos that they sent us, some very tasty images, and you know, made places where they could keep the live maggots, or disco rice, as the coroners call them, and you know, go to school.
Wow. Man, have you ever had to go and be in the presence of any actual dead bodies just to get a feel for it, so to speak?
We had to, like it's an obligation, like going to the dentist. No, actually, typically I don't spend a lot of time around real dead bodies. I do most of my work through crime scene photos.
Okay.
That's my research. But you know, some of my friends are coroners, are morticians, and you know, they like to show off sometimes. So yeah, I've seen a few autopsies.
I'm still interested in the backstory. So how did you get from being a creepy kid to a guy who opened this amazingly detailed and obviously extremely successful shop just 9 years ago with your wife? How did you get from one to the other?
I mean, since I was a kid, you know, I was always interested in art. I was always painting and drawing, and you know, it started with toys, chopping them up, putting them back together, making weird creations. If you've ever seen the first Toy Story movie, I really related to the bad guy in that film.
Right.
When I was in high school, I got my first kind of prop making gig. I was working for a toy prototyping company, And I got to do everything from install hinges to sketches that would get turned into different models. And we did sketching and sculpting and painting and testing, and so that was my first prop making gig. From there, I got into doing carnival games, haunted houses, and eventually film and movie and training props.
How hard was it to break into the film and movie part, though? Because there seems like there's so much competition on that end.
It was a good time for me to do it. Timing was definitely important there. There was and actually that was one of the things, is I got my foot in the door not with one of the big prestigious shops, but with an upstart prop shop who hadn't been in business for super long. I mean, he'd been in a few years. He wasn't fresh out the door, but he'd only been in business a few years, and he was looking to expand into fabrication, and I was willing to work the first couple of weeks at no pay, so that he couldn't say no to that. And after a couple of jobs, he decided to agree to my demands to actually start being paid. And I worked with him for a couple of years, actually just about a year, a little over a year, before going freelance and eventually starting my own shop.
Very interesting, very cool.
Where are you from? Where did all that take place?
I'm from Northern California. So,
how long have you been in Southern California?
How long have I been down here? Probably maybe 14 years.
So how long were you in the biz before you were actually able to open up your own place?
Less than 3 years.
That's doing real well.
Yeah, I move quick. When I like something, I lock my claws in.
Yeah, that's doing real, like I said, real well. And
yeah, with the shop that I was working at, it started with fabrication, but what I wanted to do was I just wanted to take on everything humanly possible, and he wound up teaching me just everything that he knew about supplying a prop shop, maintaining a client's list, sending out mailers, doing contracts, just literally every detail of the business I absorbed that first year, and maybe 6 months into the job, he would take off. He'd go on vacation, leave for months at a time, and then I was actually running his shop.
You were.
So it was pretty easy.
He trusted you that much, so I mean that's really saying something.
Oh, it is. We're still friends. We still talk. At Christmas time.
I'm over here on your website. Everyone go to dappercadaver.com, and I'm looking at your oddities as we're talking. Where do you get these ideas for these oddities? I mean, some of them are really kind of scary, bizarre.
Well, like example, which one do you like?
I'm looking at this like the fetal skeleton replica, and then you have like the skulls are engraved. I guess the skulls that are engraved really grab me because of the intricate work that goes into them.
Well, a lot of that stuff is cultural. I mean, of course, when it comes to skeletons, I mean, we've got everything that you could ask for when it comes to a skeleton. We've got fetal skeletons, sure, toddler skeletons, kid skeletons, male skeletons, female skeletons, mummified skeletons, dinosaur skeletons, animal skeletons. So, I mean, in terms of what skeletons we keep, it's everything. It's a matter of covering every base in the skeleton world.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. That is really something else. I like the Ouija skull.
Yeah,
that looks really cool, and your prices on these skulls are not that bad, to be honest with you. I was expecting $300, but I'm pleasantly surprised, guys. If you go on over there to dappercadaver.com, you can get a Ouija skull. It says here on the website $30.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah, not everything is made in-house. We are a one-stop shop, and so that means that we do work with a lot of other prop makers and artists and distributors to keep a a full collection, everything that you might want from the full-size characters down onto the little detail items. And, what we shoot for is we shoot for high-quality props at a good value. Means we're not the cheap guys and we're not the expensive guys. We got the good stuff at a good price.
Very cool. Now I got to ask, how did the White House approach you? Was it? I mean, how? Well, that call must have been a little awkward.
Yeah, that was, it was a little weird. But no, they didn't. The White House never spoke to me directly until they sent me a letter saying that I couldn't publish the photos. They had contracted a couple of other prop shops and decorators, and one of those prop shops was Legacy Effects, which is an amazing. I mean, they used to be called Stan Winston Studios up until he passed, and that shop, actually it's a special effects shop, not a prop shop, but that's the shop that made the Jurassic Park dinosaurs, the Iron Man suit, the Terminator. I mean, these guys are the best.
Sure.
And I've worked with them before. I know some people over there, and so they were doing a lot of, they were bringing a lot of their iconic characters, and there was a couple of rooms that they wanted to set up as sort of a Victorian oddities kind of feel, like maybe like Penny Dreadful, but not so gory. They didn't want any gore.
Okay.
No dead babies, no blood, just, classy, slightly creepy, old school magic and oddity.
Sure.
And so that's what we supplied. So that would be things along the lines of our magic posters and our exotic animal skulls and some of the more curious antiques and vintage replicas that we've got. And so that's what we supplied, and that was a lot of fun.
That would be a lot of fun.
I just ship all the stuff out from our shop here in Burbank, but they sent me the photos, and that was really nice. And then they said, it's this is all a private affair.
So you couldn't publish any of the pictures.
Didn't publish any pictures.
Oh, that must have, yeah.
Oh, you knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, but the only time they got a hold of you,
it
was
it was a great event. It was it was all in honor of Iraq and Afghanistan war veterans. A lot of the war veterans who had come home were invited to this event, and it was something that they could bring their children to.
Sure.
And so it was, it was a really nice event.
Family friendly.
Yeah, exactly. It was family friendly. It looked like a lot of fun, and it was. I hold no ill will to them at all. I don't want that to come across. I wish I could publish the photos because they're cool. Doesn't mean that I'm mad that I couldn't. It was an honor and a pleasure to be a part of that.
That is really cool story, though. I mean, how many shops out there can say that they worked at the White House? Not many.
I don't have an answer.
No, I was going to say probably not many.
Far between, my friend. All right, since we're somewhat focused on Halloween, given the season, I'm very curious. Looking through all of your amazing and wide and deep array of products, how many do you perceive yourself as being, more or less Halloween oriented, and how big a percentage of your business is Halloween versus TV, film, etc.?
Well, I mean, everything that I've got, because we specialize in death-related props, everything that you might be able to use for any sort of creepy scene, whether it's crime or horror or just sort of an uneasy laboratory or something like that. Because that's our specialty, kind of every aspect of what we do could be applied to Halloween. Some things are specifically Halloween, like, a traditional ghost that you would hang up on your front porch. We've got stuff like that, too. We carry ones that are a lot bigger than what you're likely to find at any other Halloween shop. We've got a nice collection of ghosts that are about 12 feet from head to toe.
Digging it.
Yeah. So, and we do them as sales and rentals. And then, of course, if you're interested in renting authentic medical props, authentic film-used props, or you're just looking for that level of detail that you're not going to find at a traditional Halloween store, we've got our inventory open for every kind of party and event and collector.
I guess I phrased that incorrectly, and that's my fault. What do you estimate is the percentage of your sales that go to specifically Halloween-related functions or attractions or parts?
Well, I've looked at the numbers. I haven't looked at the numbers for this year, so you never know if things. I don't know yet if things have changed. But over the years, it's been pretty consistent that it's a pretty even three-way split between working on entertainment jobs like crime shows. We do a lot of the crime shows, a lot of supernatural shows, and working on Halloween events, and that includes those big haunted houses like Six Flags and Universal Studios,
sure,
as well as Halloween specials, and individual parties, individual haunted houses, and then the third aspect of our business is really those educational and training simulations and recreations.
And that would have to be one of the hardest parts is the simulations, getting it right, totally right.
I guess. I don't know.
You just do your thing, man. I get you. You just do your thing. You're an artist.
Yeah, it's fun. Actually, I mean, I enjoy working on a lot of the. I always enjoy working on the crime show stuff as well as the crime scene training stuff, because that's usually when they send me some sort of puzzle, some sort of thing where they're like, this is the case, or this is what we're trying to represent, or these are the actual photos from the scene of the crime.
Sure.
And I need you to recreate that. And so we're doing something new. We're doing something that we haven't done a million times. And so, like I said, we did the maggot training one. That was a fun one.
Yeah.
That's my definition of fun.
I hate maggots. All right.
No.
Very
I know. I hate maggots too.
Well, who doesn't? Other than other maggots.
Yeah, they love each other, but yeah, outside that.
All right, we are fascinated here on this show with process. I would love it if you would take either just something that sticks out in your mind as particularly iconic or just something very recent and just walk us through the process from you being told what you need or what they need and you actually, creating that to you going to wherever this is and setting it all up. I'd love to hear you just kind of walk us through the process, maybe something Halloween related just because that's what's going on right now, but whatever you want, whatever pops into mind, I'd love to hear that process.
Sure, absolutely. Well, a lot of our stuff is made by molding and casting. And so we've got these big fiberglass and resin molds, and, what we do to make, for instance, a body is, we do the rubber skin. We paint the rubber skin in just with a brush, and then we fill it up with foam rubber and let that cure. Once it's cured, we crack it open, pull the body out of the mold, trim the seams, and we paint them up. And that's the basic of it. And most of the things that we make are variations on that process.
Okay.
To make the mold is the most time-consuming and most costly part of the process. That can take anywhere from a few days to a couple months, depending on the complexity.
Well,
and molds don't come cheap. And so sometimes it'll be a sculpted piece. We'll work with a sculptor. When it comes to designing these props, we do, some of the stuff comes straight from myself and my crew that works in-house, but I also work with a lot of talented artists in the area, in the business, who we call in for certain special items. And, because everybody's got their own talent, their own eye for design.
Sure.
And so we bring together all these talented people, and we make a sculpt, or we do a life cast, which is where we make a mold directly off of a person or an object. And so then it's a matter, if we're doing a life cast, then it's a matter of just finding people with the right look. And sometimes we hire models or actors or call on our friends. You know, one of the most fun ones was our Martin body was just a guy who walked into the shop. Just a guy who walked into the shop to buy something, and I was like, oh my God, I need your head.
Yeah. Hold on a minute.
What's that?
What's your name?
Yeah, hold on. I need your head. Stand still.
That's a totally normal thing for shop.
Sure it is.
Right? And he was game because he's an actor in this industry. He's like a 6 foot tall guy and just really big features. You know, he's got big nose, big head, big brow, big teeth, big chin, big arms, big hands. You know, he's just like, he's a built guy, but still kind of skinny. You know, not like Arnold Schwarzenegger built. But
sure.
But all of his features are really well pronounced. And so we'd done a lot of prosthetic work where they had cast his head before. You know, when you got a head like that, you wind up playing the devil or a caveman a lot. And so, yeah, he was totally game, and we casted him up, and we've used him. We've used his likeness on so many things. He's been a clown. He's been a zombie. He has been a burn victim. He's been, you know, a pilot. And
so he's a very willing subject, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
Yeah, willing to sit there for many hours.
Paid for all this?
Yes.
He pays them in fake blood.
Well, we hire people.
Trade.
You know.
Barter.
It's a barter system for the wounded animal props. Thank you.
All right, you can use my head, but I must have that broken arm.
Well, a lot of people do, when we do make a casting of them, they do ask that they get a copy when we're done. And one of my favorites is my friend Joe. We did a cast of him. And if you go on our website, Joe is Joe. Martin is Martin. Like, you can look up their names and see these people, you know. The easiest way to keep track of them is just to keep calling them by name.
Just call them their name.
Right now, I'm looking at
so Budget
Screaming Head.
I am looking at Burning Martin, posable body, but poor Martin.
Yeah,
poor guy.
Martin, he thought he was just going to be buying something.
Yeah.
So Joe, we gave a copy of him, full body, head to toe. And, you know, I saw him like a couple months later, and I was asking, you know, what do you wind up doing with the body that I gave you? And he said, well, you know, I got it like, I like to have it like laid out on the couch with like a blanket over it, so when people come over, you know, I answer the door and I can go, shh, be quiet, I'm sleeping.
Oh, jeez. That would freak a few people out. That would creep factor 10 on that one.
So pick one of these very well-known either TV shows or films and tell us what you did for them and just give us a little sense of that.
Well, Eric, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Wait.
It's halfway through the hour.
I know, it's halfway through the hour. Before you answer that, because that's an interesting one, we're going to run a break. We come back. More, well, I shouldn't say gruesome, but cool stuff. BJ Winslow. Don't go anywhere. Find out how to make your own body parts, possibly.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting.
Location.
My backyard.
Oh, your backyard. Try telling a bear that.
I did, and this bear talked back.
Talking bear, that's rich.
No, wait, it was Smokey Bear.
Smokey? Why didn't you say so?
I did say so.
Continue.
I was burning yard waste.
No, boy.
He told me to burn legally and responsibly, and to remember that if it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave.
And as always, he's right. 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans. That means 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
Yeah, I know that now.
Thanks to me.
Actually, thanks to Smokey.
As usual, the talking bear gets all the credit. Get your Smokey on. Always burn responsibly and contact your local fire department for open burning regulations. Because 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at SmokeyBear.com. Only you can prevent wildfires.
Hi, I'm Kip Parker. And I'm Charlie Parker. And we're the Parker Brothers. Hey, Charlie, what's missing from our game catalog? I don't know, Kip. Tell me. Well, you can't talk to the dead. You sure as hell can. That's why we got this brand new game called Ouija. Ouija? Well, break that down for me. Well, it's Wii because you're having a great time. And G, it's because G, aren't you having a blast because you're having a good time with the Wii. It looks like it smelled like a Chinaman got caught in there. Don't question it. Well, Ouija, Kip, tell me about it. Well, inside the package comes a flat board with all the letters of the alphabet, numbers from 0 to 9, and a yes-no written out by itself. Well, that sounds like a lot of stuff going on. It's got a lot of stuff going on indeed, Charlie. It also comes with this planchette, which hovers over the letters the dead are trying to tell you. Well, how does that work, Chip? Well, you ask the question, and then the dead move your hands in the direction of the answers. That sounds like a heck of a way to find Grandpa's slave money. Turns out it was in the attic. But the questions don't have to be as serious as slavery. You can also find out if Sally's got a crush on you. The dead like to answer all sorts of trivial questions. Feels like they'd have better things to do with their time, Kip. No, lost souls are lost forever, and they're really glad to help. Well, gee, Kip, can't you just get any sort of board with numbers and letters and talk to the dead? The dead prefer quality like anybody else. Quality you can only find at Parker & Parker.
The Ouija board, brought to you by the Parker Brothers, available in both white and colored wallworks. Separate but equal savings.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at Motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Do you have a question for our guest tonight? Don't feel like calling the show? Not a problem. Email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Again, that's afterhoursam@gmail.com.
This is the latest disclosure in a report from National Civil Defense Headquarters in Washington. It has been established that persons who have recently died have been returning to life and committing acts of murder. A widespread investigation of reports from funeral homes, morgues, and hospitals has concluded that the unburied dead are coming back to life and seeking human victims.
And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is
Eric Olson.
Eric, man, we are talking all things body parts, and, well, we have a great guest tonight. BJ Winslow is on from Dapper Cadaver. Go to dappercadaver.com. You, too, can look at what we're looking at, and, man, it is freaky.
Follow along.
Yeah, follow along. You had a great question before the break. Why don't you ask it again?
Yeah, I'm just, again, being kind of fascinated with the process. I'd love to hear some details on any one of these big films that you've worked on or one of the TV shows, and just, maybe just break it down to a little microcosm, something specific that you did, or maybe a typical day on one of the recurring things. Just love to hear the details, something I can visualize. It'd be so cool.
Okay, all right. I'll tell you about one that typical. I mean, to be perfectly honest, typical is like typical at any business. Somebody comes in, they place an order, you fill the order, you ship it out. It just happens to be that the box is full of severed heads.
Yeah.
But one of the more fun ones was way back in the day. I got called up by a new show that they were working on the first episode of called Breaking Bad.
Ooh.
And the people that I was talking to about it was like, this is a pilot that we're making. Like, I think that this is, it's probably just going to be a pilot. This is probably too intense for cable.
Sure.
But it's really good, and everybody's really excited about it. And it's about this. They told me the guy from Malcolm in the Middle is
the dad of all guys.
They said the guy from Malcolm in the Middle is going to be selling meth, and I thought it was Malcolm.
That would have been really interesting.
Exactly.
Which would have been an interesting show.
Malcolm in the schoolyard.
That's where my mind went to immediately. But anyway, they said that he's this high school, you know the story. He's a high school science teacher, decides to make meth. And they wanted me to do the glassware and the chemistry supplies for the meth labs for the pilot. And that was about it. That was about all they told me. There were a couple of key pieces that you're like, you need to include these pieces.
I was going to say, how did you research what goes in the meth lab?
Google.
Okay, I was going to say.
Got on Google, typed into the search box how to make meth.
There's BJ in the middle of the woods.
Everything that you need to make meth. It's you can look it up. It's on there. I do not recommend that you do that. And so I was looking on Google, searching around, and figuring out how to make meth, and then everything that I needed to make meth I bought, and then I shipped everything that you need to make meth to this warehouse in the New Mexico desert. And after I had shipped them, after I had bought everything that you need to make meth online and shipped it to some nondescript warehouse in New Mexico, that's when I realized that if the NSA was listening, I just really screwed up. My search history looked bad.
Oh, I bet it did.
But yeah, it was so much fun. I worked on every season. We did props for every season. We did some of the brains that got blown out of some of the guys' heads. We did burn bodies. We did stunt dummies. We did severed limbs. We did laboratory glassware and just all kinds of stuff for that show. Mark Hansen was the prop master on that. It was such a joy to work with him. We were all thrilled that they achieved the prestige and the recognition that they got.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I said, I mean, it's a phenomenon now, but back working on that first episode, I mean, it was like there was, it was just some show about meth, and
yeah, I mean, when you said I researched meth, I thought, here he goes, middle of the woods, stumbled upon a beaker. Oh, well, yep, found the guys.
Yep. We get the pot, we get the beaker.
Yeah. How do you make this?
We got the Keldal flask. That was one that they specifically said there's got to be a Keldal flask. And
very interesting.
It's just this particular sort of teardrop-shaped boiling flask that you can connect to a stand. And they're not very. There's not as many of them produced. There's a lot of similar flasks.
Well, the thing of it is,
they really wanted that particular piece.
Is what's scary is you ordered all this online. That's what's scary.
Oh yeah.
It's right there. There you go. Order it up, kids. You, too, can start your own easy bake meth lab.
Now, BJ,
not a recommendation.
No.
How often are you on?
These people that are making it, they're not rocket science. They're not rocket scientists. They're just, it is basic chemistry.
Determined people doing bad things.
Right.
That's where we're going to leave that, right there.
So there.
How often do you go on set? How often do you actually set up these scenarios versus just sending them the tools?
Not often. I used to be a freelancer, and I worked a lot on set. I had worked on set for Dexter and for Bones and for a couple of sci-fi original pictures and a number of other shows when I was freelancing. But I intentionally decided that what I wanted to do as my own business was a prop shop as opposed to an effects studio, because a prop shop is something where we work from our base. This is our base. This is where we do our work, and we ship stuff, or you can do pickups here. And a big part of that is I have a family. I've got a wife who is my business partner on this, and I've got 2 girls. And when you're working on sets, the hours are just ridiculous.
Yeah.
They book you for an 8-hour day, that means a 12-hour day, or they'll book you for a 12-hour day, that means a 16-hour day. And if they ever say they need you to work 16 hours, you're going to be seeing the sunrise the next morning.
Wow,
So,
that's just
it's a brutal schedule. If you actually want to have a family. So I don't go on set all that often, and there's parts of that I miss. But the best parts of being on set are what winds up on the screen. A lot of the moments in between those shots are a lot of sitting around, staring, and trying to have the best the best story to impress the union guy, or eating a bunch of free M&Ms.
There's nothing wrong with free M&Ms. Let me tell you.
Except for the chocolate.
Well, yes, the chocolate that you don't eat and you can't eat because you're allergic, and that stinks to be you. But the rest of us love free M&Ms.
Yeah.
But
and they got craft service is great. Go on set sometime.
Oh,
they got
exactly.
sandwiches and pretzels. You'll love it.
Exactly. Now I got to ask you, who was your inspiration? Were you like a Tom Savini fan? Who was the guy that kind of, when you look at the FX, going, wait a second, that is really flipping cool?
Well, I mean, I'm a huge fan. I've always been a huge fan of horror movies, and I like to say fan rather than inspiration out of respect. The people that I'm fans of, I'm not working on that level, and so like I was saying before, I'm a huge fan of the Stan Winston studio, Stan Winston himself. Tom Savini, Rick Baker, hugely influential on my childhood and my formative teenage years when I could finally get into R-rated movies. And my favorite creature of all time is definitely the original H.R. Geiger alien from the first movie when they had Geiger build it himself, because that guy was just
yeah.
And that alien was so weird. And every movie that came out after it with the same alien, the alien was less weird. That first one was just
that was the one that grabbed you right by the throat. Was that first one though?
Yeah.
And
I don't just mean the movie. I mean the creature itself.
Yeah, it almost had that weird, eerie realism to it.
Yeah. Well, and part of that I loved was that Geiger wasn't a prop maker. He wasn't a costume maker, and he hadn't done a lot of movie work. I don't think that was his first film, but he hadn't done a lot of movie work, and he made that creature. That creature was a sculpture, and he did things that no creature maker in their right mind would have done. And some of it works seamlessly, and other elements of it are just so jarring and noticeable that it just makes the whole thing that much more unsettling.
Oh, I would wholeheartedly agree with you. And I'm over here at the website again, dappercadaver.com. You also do prosthetics. And these prosthetics are weird looking. Like, drive-by gunshot victim.
We actually, we don't actually make any of the prosthetics.
Okay. That's kind of...
We do make a lot of our own blood.
Okay.
We make a really good blood.
Okay, I gotta ask you, and you don't have to give this out, but what is the base of this movie, Hollywood Blood? What is it made out of? Just the base. You don't have to give your whole thing away.
The secret ingredient, if you really want your blood to look real, is you go down to the butcher shop and get some real blood. Like, you throw some cow's blood on somebody, nobody's going to know it's not human blood.
Wow. I never thought of that.
Not it at all.
Okay, well, there you go,
I'm
kids.
messing with you. No, I'm not going to give out my recipe.
No, I was curious. The base, not the recipe, not the secret, but the base of it is a corn or like a everybody assumes, and I know I'm tapping on this thin ice with you because I know you cannot give it out because it's proprietary.
Well, it's like I feel that making stage blood in this industry, in the special effects industry, is it's like asking like a Sicilian grandmother for her spaghetti sauce.
Hey, fair enough. Fair enough.
Everybody's got their own recipe, and everybody says their recipe is the best. And they're all very much the same, but every single one is a little bit different.
Okay.
And everybody guards.
Hey, fair
Everybody
enough, man.
guards what goes into theirs.
Yep, absolutely. I honor and respect you not giving up what your blood's
like
made
a
of.
true entrepreneur. Speaking of which, you seem to have a new endeavor called Creatures and Cultures. Tell us
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, well, that's brand new this year as an offshoot of Dapper, Cadaver. Now, the inventory and what we're doing there, we've been doing it for years, but it was one of those natural progressions where people we do bodies, and so we get calls to do meat. Be like, if you do bodies, can you do meat? Can you do cows, pigs, goats, geese? Sure, we can do meat. And we were doing stunt dummies of people, and I started getting calls years and years ago. Can you do stunt dummies of dogs? We've got a scene where a dog jumps on a guy, or even just we've got a scene where like the dog is supposed to be on set for 16 hours, which would be cruel to make an animal do. They're not they're not SAG.
Sure.
So it'd be cruel to keep a dog there. And so, can you do stunt dogs? And so we started making stunt dogs, and we do skeletons, human skeletons, and so we started doing animal skeletons too. And so we wound up with this large collection of animals, of goats and pigs and cows and dinosaurs and dinosaur skeletons and salamis and all of this stuff that just didn't quite, it made sense why we had it to me.
Sure.
And it was good business, but I got like a guy from Chipotle, the restaurant franchise, coming in one time, shopping for realistic pigs for a display that they were setting up somewhere, and he did not appreciate having to walk past the zombies and dismembered bodies to get to the pigs that he was going to be using to sell burritos.
Chipotle.
Oh, come on. He should have giggled a little bit. Come on. Who doesn't have that inner sci-fi guy?
Suck it up with
That's
your
right.
green Mexican food.
You're giving people.
We were getting that. We were getting, once we had enough of the natural history stuff going on, that there was a whole other group of people that really enjoyed some of the things that we were doing, and weren't here for crime or horror or Halloween, and didn't wanted to keep those separate. Wanted to separate those out a little bit more. So in our new location, when we moved into our new location, it's divided into several rooms. So we've got an animal room, and we've got an antiques room, and we've got a body parts room, and we've got a Halloween room, and we've got a dinosaur room. And so it's all divided out into these really cool little rooms. And so you can come in, and if you got a weak stomach, if you're sensitive, you can come in and you can look at nothing but dogs and sheep, or you can come in and you can see whoever we've dismembered most recently. And then Creatures and Cultures is our website, is our new website, and it's only got on it the natural history stuff, as well as some human history stuff as well. And we've been working with museums and, like I said, restaurants, and what I really enjoy, of course I love the crime and the horror, and I'm sure that comes across in everything I like to talk about, and especially what I like to joke about. But I used to be a bio major. I love animals, and I really enjoy working on animal projects as well. And it's nice that not everything that I do is
Mhm.
is death and horror and dismemberment.
Well, I'm looking at the website, and really, I was kind of clicking everywhere, and you have such a wide range of catalog here that really it's astounding that you've put such a catalog together. I know that when you get into the Hollywood stuff and you do that kind of stuff, that is it's fun projects, and like you said earlier, you go on set and it could be a 24-hour set list that you have to sit there and work through. But when you're back in the shop, do you ever stop, like if you're making something for a movie or anything else, do you ever stop and go, oh my God, that is disgusting. That is freaky.
No. Well, I mean, yeah, not really.
I like the tone in your voice.
I like that, yeah. No, not really. It's a good time.
Yeah, I mean, most of, I don't know.
It's not the way your brain works. All right, Joel, look
Yeah.
at 10 till. Joel, what do we have to ask him now with 10 minutes left?
Well, we have to ask him how everyone get a hold of him, where they can buy his products, and
Yeah,
what
but
kind of...
more importantly, so did anything ever paranormal?
Oh, yeah. See, I was going to ease into that. But yes, more importantly, where do you stand on ghosts?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely believe in ghosts. That's been a repeat thing throughout my life. So, yeah.
You ever see one? You ever have an experience? I mean, did Bigfoot ever come by and say, how you doing there, BJ?
Well, I never saw Bigfoot.
Okay. Because I know you're in California. There are a lot of sightings of Bigfoot in that area.
Yeah, but not so much in the cities.
No.
Right.
No, well, that's too
Tell us
bad.
about the ghosts. We
ghosts.
must know.
Ghosts. Yeah. Let's see. I grew up next to a cemetery, and let's see. My earliest experience with ghosts was something that I had to be told by my mom. I was hanging out probably at Christmas one year, and we were telling stories. And, the whole family likes to go on and tell ghost stories from time to time. It's that kind of family. So they love what I do. And I love, talking with my family.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
My mom was telling me that when I was a baby in my crib, she was walking by, and, she saw this sort of a light coming out of the room. And she looked in, and there were these two little ghost boys that were just hanging out next to the crib. And she was like, is everything okay? And they nodded silently. She was like, great. She kept walking.
What?
And then she told me, and yeah, they would show up from time to time. And I never got a bad feeling from them. They never did anything scary. They would just watch you while you slept, and I would I would ask, is everything okay? And they would nod, and I would go and do my things. And
how cool of a customer is your mom?
You
left
me with ghosts?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, how you doing? Good. All right. Good enough then.
Who's got the baby? The ghost got the baby.
Yeah,
most
that's
cases,
unconventional
that's the start of a horror movie.
parenting.
At my house, that was just babysitting.
That's unconventional parenting, like Eric said. That, yeah. How's it go? Good. Okay, carry on. Carry on. If Wow.
So, yeah. I mean, it goes all the way back. Let's see. You guys want to hear about a curse?
Yes, we love curses.
All right. You love curses? Cool. So, this was back at my old location. And I had a friend that I was buying stuff from. He would go to Indonesia, and he knew this village of people that did amazing wood carving of all sorts of weird occult things. And they were all like 4.5 feet tall. I mean, these were really short people. And I'm 6'2". My friend is about the same size as me, and he would go over and he would have them make custom things, and he'd buy up, tiki masks and statues and bring them back. And he commissioned the fabrication of this door with Baphomet. the alchemy devil on it. And he goes to pick up the door in Indonesia, and the thing is like 4.5 feet tall.
Okay.
And he's like, I wanted like a full-size door.
Yeah, I want to hang in my
because
house.
This is a tribe. They didn't use like tape measures. They didn't have tape measures, inches or meters or anything. And they just, once they started working on it, they just did not believe that Americans could be as gigantic as
Clearly, practical carpentry was lost on them.
I mean, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful door, but it was this.
Little.
It was like this beautiful 5-foot tall door, and so it made its way into my shop, and I had it there. I got it very early on at my first location in Hollywood, and I had it, leaning up against the wall. And one day, this guy comes in, and he tells me pretty early on that he's a Satanist.
Oh, wow. That's just something you threw in there, Hey, by the way.
Like a Satanist from Central Casting. He was wearing like a red jacket, no T-shirt, and he was covered in these weird little tattoos that were probably alchemy symbols. And he's walking around, checking out my stuff, and he comes across the devil door. And he stands in front of... No, wait. Oh, no, I screwed this up. I'm sorry. Before the Satanist guy.
Rewind.
What?
I don't know.
Yeah, rewind that. No, before the Satanist guy. The first people who came in were a pair of witches. And they run like a local witchcraft circle here in Los Angeles. And they came in and they found the devil door. And they fell in love with the devil door. And they asked me how much it was, and I told them, and they didn't have the money for it. And, they were like, well, will you take, 1/10 of that for the door? I was like, no, I'm not going to take 1/10 of that for the door. And so they said, all right, fine, we are going to curse this door so that nobody else can buy it. So that
May
nobody
your
else
children be bald. Oh, yeah. May your children be born bald.
No, they didn't curse me. They just cursed the door.
Okay.
So they start chanting in front of my devil door.
Wow.
And then they tell me that they put a spell of invisibility on it, and nobody else is going to see it, and nobody else is going to buy it, and they're going to come back in who knows when, and with the rest of the money, and they're actually going to buy the door. And they leave, and a couple of years go by, and nobody's bought the door.
Because they can't see it.
Guy comes in. Then the Satanist guy comes in. He came in like 2 years after the witches came in. And he's walking around my shop, and he comes to the devil door, and he stops at the devil door, and he says to me, somebody has put a spell on this door. And he starts chanting in front of the devil door. And when he's done, he says, there, I removed the spell.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, thanks, dude.
Thanks.
Yeah.
About an hour after he left, my neighbor, Isan, who ran a dojo. It was like a kung fu dojo. And he had come in. He was a friend of mine in the neighborhood. He would come in like every single day, and we'd mostly talk about kung fu and Star Wars. He was just a super cool guy. And he came in like he had come in every day for like the past 2 years. And he comes in and he stops at the devil door. And he says to me, is this new? I was like, no, it's not new. It's been there for 3 years. He's like, I've never seen this before.
Wow. Crazy. But, we only got 2 minutes left of the show, BJ. Why don't you tell them to get a hold of you, how they can get your stuff, all that kind of good stuff.
So all of my stuff is available for sale, is available for rent. We do private parties. We work with collectors. We do custom fabrication. We're www.dappercadaver.com. Also creaturesandcultures.com. You can reach us. We got a storefront. We're open 5 or 6 days a week. The Halloween season, we're open Saturdays. Rest of the year, we're open Monday through Friday. And then you can call me up, 818-771-0818. We'll work with party planners, TV shows, rescue people, museums, just anybody who needs a realistic human or animal figure or creepy decor.
Remember, Dapper Cadaver is your one-stop shop for everything creepy. BJ Winslow, thank you so much for coming on the show. Reached an end of another show, Eric. Again, everyone take care of each other, love each other. On behalf of myself and Eric, thank you for listening. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for listening to this edition of After Hours AM, and please remember to like us on Facebook and also follow us over on Twitter.